Welcome to episode number 375 of Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching for Beyond Social Media Show. We are recording on April 9, 2022. A lot of things to talk about this week, including Pink Floyd returns to urge, hey, rise up. YouTube reactions, AdAge on Web3 for marketers, podcasts on Twitter, Twitter edit button, Formula One NFTpocalypse, voice-activated images, AI salespeople, the mother of all Facebook lawsuits, and we leave you with a bunch of stats on podcast consumption, updated stats on podcast consumption, but BL has the best story of the week. BL kicks it off, and yeah, this is the best story of the week.
Okay, well, after 28 years, Pink Floyd is back. And this is from a story in The Guardian by Alexis Petridis, but there's stories everywhere. So what happens is a couple of weeks ago, Pink Floyd's guitarist and singer David Gilmour was asked if he's seen the Instagram feed of, I'm sure I'll screw this up, and Andriy Kilvinyuk, who is the frontman of a Ukrainian rock band that's called Boombox. And Gilmour had performed live with Boombox in 2015 at a London benefit for the Belarus Free Theater. And they played a brief and very raw set of Pink Floyd songs and Gilmour solo tracks. And Andriy abandoned, he was on tour in the US and he abandoned the tour to go fight against the Russian invasion. And on his Instagram, Gilmour found a video of him singing a 1914 protest song that was written in honor of the Sikh riflemen who fought in the First World War and the Ukrainian War of Independence, which was back in 1914. And Gilmour said the frustration of seeing that and thinking, what the fuck can I do, was unbearable. So after 28 years, the result is Hey, Rise Up. It's a new single by Pink Floyd. He brought some of the band together and it samples Andrei's performance. It was released at midnight on Friday. All the proceeds go to the UN's Ukrainian Humanitarian Relief Fund. And that is a country-based pooled fund. Contributions are collected from all countries into a single unearmarked fund and then managed locally under the leadership of the UN. The funds are made directly and immediately available to the partner organizations on the front lines of Ukraine. So since Friday night, the official video has more than 5.5 million views, and multiple videos of news organizations telling the story have many millions of views. And it's too soon to know how much money will be raised, but I have a link to the contributing site, but 100% of it goes to humanitarian aid. And Gilmour had to track down Kilnyuk. I wish I had a better pronunciation. He trolled on Instagram and he looked for all different phone numbers, and eventually he found an email address. And he was asked to speak on FaceTime. He wanted to be sure it was me, not that he was being trolled. So he said the next time he saw him, he was in the hospital having been hit in the face with shrapnel. And he kept that piece in a plastic bag. And, it could have just as easily been a piece that killed him or taken his head off, but there he was, he survived. So this is the first new original music that they've recorded together since 1994, The Division Bell. And the track uses Andrei's vocals taken from his Instagram post of him in Kiev's square singing the Red Viburnum in the meadow. And so before they released it, Gilmour sent him the song, and his message was, I'll try to say this. Thank you, it's fabulous. One day we'll play it together and have a good stout afterwards on me. And so Gilmour said, yep, let's do that.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, BL, but Pink Floyd is like one of my top 5 favorite bands of all time. David Gilmour is like top 3 guitarists of
amazing
all time.
guitarist, absolutely amazing guitarist.
But that song is the song is it's an amazing song. Everybody should watch it and listen to it. It will bring tears to your eyes. But
beautiful.
But the song also is it's a confirmation of a theory I have always propounded about Pink Floyd and David Gilmour in particular. It's my favorite guitarist, the most expressive guitarist. His solos are amazing because he's such an expressive guitarist in that way. But he needs an emotional context in order to be fantastic as at the top of his game.
Well, and he's got that here.
He's got that there, but he doesn't have it in Pink Floyd post Roger Waters. Roger Waters was, I think he's an absolute musical genius, but provided the emotional context within which David Gilmour could shine in his solos. And once Roger Waters left Pink Floyd, I don't think he's nearly as good of a guitarist in that without that context.
Wait till you see the video.
Yeah. So if that video, I didn't check, but if that video had this new feature that YouTube has, is rolling out, is testing, is experimenting with, there would be a ton of heart emojis flooding that video because according to 9 to 5 Google, Abner Lee, YouTube is experimenting with reactions for videos that allow you to
as
share.
It plays?
Allow you to share an emoji at an exact moment in a video. And this is on the heels of another feature they've been testing with of timed comments. So users can leave comments at specific moments in videos.
Two very good upgrades.
Yeah, absolutely. Users can react and see crowd reactions by opening up the comment section for the videos that are using this feature right now and tapping on the reaction panel. The reaction emojis you can use are a face with tears of joy, that could apply here, heart, of course, shocked face, party popper / celebration, 100% question mark, light bulb idea, and screaming cat for some reason. But it's a great new feature. I hope they keep it. I would think that they will, because applying the reactions to specific moments in videos gives YouTube what Facebook already has. It has those reactions, right? But that also allows advertisers to target specific emotions that people are expressing through their behavior.
I worry about the comments at different places because there's definitely potential for abuse there.
Oh, I worry about the comments always on YouTube.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Which is why I always keep them at, review before they show. Yeah, highly advise that. Right. So I have to congratulate AdAge because AdAge is old and they are going bravely into NFTs and the Metaverse, and they have a continuously updated list of how brands and marketers are using NFTs. They, in less than a year, the acronym NFT has gone, as they said, from WTF to BFF for brands, and ditto for the Metaverse. And so they're making a really sincere effort to educate in plain English so brands can keep up. And so kudos to them, because very few other people report in plain English. And there's a daily newsletter, there's a glossary of terms and lots of articles. It's definitely worth a look.
And stick around for the worst, because I have a WTF NFT brand example that
I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it is.
But before then, here's another new feature that is potentially rolling out. This is from Social Media Today's Andrew Hutchinson, who reports that Twitter is testing a new dedicated tab for podcasts that would appear or is appearing in their testing environment on the side in the lower functions of the Twitter app, lower bar, navigation bar of the Twitter app. It does suggest that they are going into podcast discovery on the platform. Don't know whether that's like hooking up your RSS feed for your podcast to Twitter and being discoverable that way, or recording directly on the platform and having the podcast available, or, you know, a feature of turning spaces into spaces/podcasts. That's yet to be determined, but it does enable podcasters to create direct links to their podcasts. And it's similar to how they have the link to newsletters now that they've bought Review and have rolled out in newsletters for people on Twitter. Twitter also acquired the podcast discovery app Breaker last year, and it appeared that was intended to help improve discovery of spaces, but now also it could be incorporated into the new podcast feature if they go that way. I did just notice today that on my Twitter app, there's a new Spaces icon. It's a little microphone, yeah, at the bottom navigation bar. Okay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of technical issues with Spaces. The hosts and the speakers can only hear each other when they're using both their phone and a laptop. And there are quite a lot of sound issues. And then occasionally a space ends and they have to restart it. Because I listen a lot to the ones about Ukraine, and sometimes when especially if there's like more than 500 people listening, there tend to be some issues. So I think they're working on it, but the hosts are already recording the spaces and you are already able to hear the recording. So it's clear they're moving in that direction, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I remember the early days of Twitter when it was they could not handle the growth and it crashed all the time.
Yeah, right. The blue whale.
Right. Yeah.
Where's the whale today? Yeah, we don't see the whale anymore, thank goodness. So does that bring us to bad news?
It does.
I got what I think is Twitter bad news, and this is also an Andrew Hutchinson story. And he and I had a conversation about it on Twitter. So Twitter confirms that they're working on an edit button following tweets from their new board member, Elon Musk, who I have very mixed feelings about. And it seems that he's using, Elon Musk wants to use his newfound sway as the company's biggest shareholder and latest board member to make tweet editing a reality. Twitter swears that that's not why they're doing it, but you know damn well that's why they're doing it. So nearly 4 million people voted in Musk's poll, and 73.5% of them are in favor of an edit option. So Twitter's CEO, Parag Agrawal, also suggested that it might become a reality. And in his callback, he said that Twitter is, he called back to Musk's own tweet. He said it's possible. It's hard to even count how many ways an edit button would suck. Think the former guy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Bo Bitch, etc., or our new political candidate, Sarah Palin. Twitter's always resisted an edit button, and Dorsey had many concerns, and those were among them about users changing retweeted messages after the fact and suggesting that the concise nature of tweets leaves them even more susceptible to subtle edits that could be problematic in a lot of ways. And I can think of tons of them. So in early 2020, Dorsey pretty much killed off any hopes of an edit option. And he said that was before Twitter added an undo option for Twitter Blue subscribers, of which I'm one, and you get a chance to look at your tweet and edit it before you send it. You have about 30 seconds to do it. And so that's the closest we've seen to, you know, being able to clarify your tweet. I pay the $2.99 because I think it's worth the things that I am getting, the ad-free articles, the that ability to do that. I think those are useful features. So you know, Hutchinson says longer tweets, when that was introduced, that was a disaster. We had many an argument about those. You know, a week later, it wasn't a big deal. Audio tweets had celebrities sharing like crazy for about 2 days. Changing stars to hearts was, you know, the death knell for the app. And well, you remember fleets? They were around for 5 minutes, what, hours? They were really annoying. So, you know, he says after every Twitter trend is the biggest, most important, most critical thing in the world at the time. And then everyone feels they have to share a unique take, which generally is not actually unique. And then it isn't, just like that. So Twitter actually confirmed that it's working on an edit button, and it says Musk had nothing to do with it, but I don't believe them. And then Tim Dodd had a very good alternative, which I completely could handle. He says under 2 conditions. It's only available for a few minutes, 5 to 10. And when an edit is made, there's a small link that shows the edit. And this keeps a public record, but allows a tweeter the ability to fix a simple mistake and not re-notify their followers with a new tweet, to which Musk responded, that sounds reasonable, but that whole problem could be solved with spell check.
Yeah, so, no, I don't necessarily, I mean, okay, 2 things. 1, I liked audio tweets. That shouldn't have gone away. That was a good feature.
That was a good feature.
2, I've always, and we've had this discussion before. I've always said that that I'm fine with it as long as they're archived and you have a label like Facebook does when you edit something on Facebook.
This has been edited.
It's been edited. Have a link to, as you mentioned, have a link to the archive. But sometimes people make a really unintentionally but boneheaded mistake that would be nice to be able to clean up and have a record of you doing that, right?
Well, as long as there's a record of you doing that. Yeah. And the thing is, like, Twitter goes by so fast that if there's an archive, nobody's gonna, it's got to be right there. It's got to be the edited tweet and the one that they edited, and then I can handle it, and then I think there could be less abuse. Yeah,
but I mean, what you don't want is not an archive, so that the people who abuse the platform, the people who we need to hold accountable, are able to be held accountable for what they
Well, there still should be an archive, but that should be a separate thing.
Yeah,
it's
Wikipedia. That's I've been saying all along.
Yeah, exactly.
Model. Yeah. So here's our NFTpocalypse story here from Kotaku, the popular gaming website. And this is an article by Luke Plunkett. F1, Formula One, Delta Time was an official NFT and crypto-powered racing game that was launched in 2019, but has closed its doors last month. And that left everyone who had spent money on the project and invested in it wishing they probably hadn't. It closed on March 15th and gave users 1 day before shutting down on March 16th. The most expensive NFT sold in all of 2019 was a car for this game, which went for over $100,000. Some players spent almost $300,000 on a single transaction, and now those NFTs are worthless. The tokens themselves live on, but without the game, there's no value to it. And this is both an NFT disaster as well as a brand project NFT disaster. And it's buyer beware out there.
Well, there was another really major one. That's the one I thought you were going to talk about, and that was Gary Vaynerchuk's. His was a sports one, I think. And what happened was that when people went to buy and download the NFT, the gas prices for obtaining it, there were too many people doing it, and the smart contract was written incorrectly. And so the price of downloading it went up like to an Ethereum, which is like $30,000 at the moment. I mean, these are early days. These are really, really early days. And I mean, I think that brands have FOMO, and a lot of them are rushing into things that they don't know what the hell they're doing. And that's why they need people like us. But, there's going to be a lot of screw ups out there. And yes, it's very much a buyer beware, as is the stock market. Let's get serious.
Stock market is regulated. If I lose $100,000 in an NFT or $300,000 NFT, who do I turn to? No one.
Well, that was your choice to put $100,000.
Yeah, but if there's something like this that's regulated, you have someone to turn to deal with that. But
maybe someday, but not right now. We're in such early days. Well, you have to do your homework. You have to know who you're dealing with. It would make sense if you were going to put $100,000 into something to read the freaking smart contract.
The problem with a lot of these is you don't know who you're dealing with because it's it's designed.
Then you shouldn't deal with them.
The whole technology is designed to be that way.
No, it is not. The technology is 100% transparent. You can read the smart contract before you do anything. It's on the blockchain. It's available to anyone. One of the issues that
when was the last time you read a contract online?
I'm not buying NFTs.
I'm just saying, people don't read contracts online.
These are much simpler than the privacy notices on websites. Okay. These are extremely short, simple contracts that you can read. So I know you're a hater, but you know, one day you're going to be doing this too.
I'm not a hater, I'm a realist.
Okay, whatever. Okay. So here's one that really should be able to make us happy, but like so many things, it can't. This is a new technology that could turn us all into graphic artists, or it could turn us into scammers. So this is from a New York Times article by Cade Metz, and this technology blends language and images, and it could really help graphic artists and people who want to, you know, do graphics. And it could also, unfortunately, speed disinformation campaigns. So this is interesting because it's back with $1 billion in funding from Microsoft, and who gave the money to researchers at OpenAI, which is one of the world's most ambitious artificial intelligence labels. And they're building a technology that lets you create images simply by describing what you want to see. So Alex Nickel, who's one of the researchers behind the system, demonstrated how it works. He asked it to draw a teapot shaped like an avocado, which it made multiple versions of, and they, in fact, with the color and shape of an avocado, and then he asked it to do kittens playing chess, which I have an image of for the show. He asked it to draw a living room filled with sand, and it screwed that up. So then he was more precise. He asked it to make a piano in a living room filled with sand, and it did those. You know, occasionally it needs more comprehensive instructions. And so, you know, the caveats is that it can also edit photos. So for example, he had a picture of a bear playing a trumpet, and he told it to move the trumpet, and it moved it you know, to the wrong place. But he was editing an actual existing photo. So it's called DALL-E, in reference to the movie that was called, what was the movie called with the little guy in the dump? I forgot his name, but it's it's a nod to Salvador Dali, and also to the Wall-E. It was Wall-E.
Wall-E.
So it's an artificial intelligence that researchers call a neural network, and it's a mathematical system that's kind of molded on the neurons in our brain. And it's the same technology that recognizes the commands that we speak into and identify the presence of that we speak into on our phones, and identifies the presence of people in the street in self-driving cars. So as it continues to improve, it could help speed disinformation, unfortunately, across the internet, because it's feeding the kind of online campaigns that helped sway the 2016 presidential election. So you could use it for good things, but you could certainly use it for all sorts of crazy, worrying things. And that includes deep fakes, like misleading photos and videos. And that's from a professor of computer science, whose name I will not butcher, at Arizona State University. So it's a step forward because it juggles language and images. And in some cases, it grasps the relationship between the two. But like anything, it has to be monitored and regulated. Dave.
So what is the quality of the images?
Beautiful.
Really?
I have some for the show notes.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I mean, like photographic images of the teapots that look like avocados. You know, really, I mean, very good at that.
Doing editing of photos, if you want to do heavy editing of photos, is tedious work. So I can see why this would have a lot of appeal. Yeah.
That's exactly how I hurt my back.
Well, speaking of deep fakes, this is an article by Shannon Bond of National Public Radio, who we actually talked about this in episode number 259, February of 2019. We talked about this technology. But the NPR reports about Rena DiResta and her colleague Josh Goldstein at the Stanford Internet Observatory, and they were investigating. They did an investigation that uncovered more than 1,000 LinkedIn profiles that used faces created by artificial intelligence. So back in February of 2019, we talked about that. This person does not exist website that actually created on the fly artificially intelligent designed website faces. NPR found that many of the LinkedIn profiles were not, we think of LinkedIn as a fairly safe social media channel, right? I mean, it's professional, so people tend to behave themselves more than on Twitter or Facebook, whatever. And it wasn't used in this case for disinformation, as you would imagine, but for drumming up sales for companies. So it was sending these profiles that had these fake photos on, deep fake photos on them, were sending messages to potential customers, probably through bots. And then when somebody took the bait, when they responded to the message, it connected them with a real salesperson to seal the deal. Exactly. So there are more than 70 businesses were listed as employees on the fake profiles. Several told NPR that they had hired outside marketers to help with sales and hadn't authorized any of the use of computer-generated images. Many were surprised to learn what NPR had found. So there you go. Be careful when you outsource your sales force.
Well, also the same AI images, exist in the DALL-E, where when they're looking at images of people of color, they don't get them right. All of the things that we've discussed in the past that are still issues with AI have not been solved. So, there's definite caveats here. Should be regulation.
Yep. There you go. Here's one quick one to round out our worst is I came across today a thread on Twitter by Jason Kint about a Friday night surprise. So this came out last night. And I'm just going to read the first two tweets, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes for people to follow up. But this is, quote, plaintiffs just filed their response to Facebook in my favorite case, what I call the mother of all lawsuits, in Delaware, where it's incorporated. It's a tight but absolutely delicious 120 pages, so I'll break down the allegations here for you. As background, this is a massive stakeholder lawsuit by pension funds, including the second largest in existence. It came after funds successfully sued to see Facebook's board-level documents, messages around the $5 billion settlement after the cover-up was exposed. And it's basically that walks through the lawsuit and points out pieces of it where they're talking about the board covering for Zuckerberg, about the people who are on the board, Peter Thiel, Andreessen, Netflix, Reed Hollings, or whatever can't remember his last name, Reed guy. They all stand to make a lot of money, and we're selling stock before the Cambridge Analytica thing came through. So it's fascinating read. We'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can follow it up. But there you go. Maybe something will come of it.
Well, if Peter Thiel's involved, there's something dirty going on. That's all you can say about him. Dave, I don't have any smiles. Like, the only thing I found was like people in Florida are hand feeding manatees, but that had nothing to do with social media. Oh my God,
that was smiley. Yes, indeed. You might as well throw that in the show notes, because that
there was a manatee laying on his back being hand fed by his
baby manatee too.
Yeah, I mean, which are bigger than trucks.
Right.
But anyway, I got some tools. I'm sure you have some too.
I do. I got one, and it's CallRail. This is a service for, so I'm using it now for a radio ad campaign running for a client, and it's phone call tracking. So, you can kind of guesstimate of whether radio stations will give you impression numbers when your slots ran, the estimated number of listeners, blah, blah, blah. It's over the air, so you don't know, right? So in order to kind of track the effectiveness of the ad campaigns, you have a call to action for calling a phone number, and then you have these trackable phone numbers that you can use
The actual number?
The actual number. So what you do is you buy a package here. This is a for-fee service, and starts at like $50 a month, I think, for 5 phone numbers. So you get these phone numbers and you put them in your ads. And then whenever somebody calls the phone number, it measures that, right? So you get call data on how many people are calling from your ad campaign. You know, when your ad slots ran on radio, you know when the calls came in, so you can measure up whether, you know, how effective your ads are over air. It tracks calls. It also has what is called a whisper message. So if you're connecting to a call center, before that call, you redirect the call to a call center, right? Before the person on the other end at the call center picks up the phone, is connected to the person calling, there will be a message that's pre-recorded that says, like, it can be whatever you want it to be. And so you could say, this is calling from ad campaign X on station Y or whatever, so that they can understand where the call is coming from. Then it connects them connects the caller to the call center so they can start talking to the person. Also has call recording. So whenever you've been on a support call and you hear that message, this call is recorded for quality assurances. Right. That's what this is. So it's recording the message, recording the actual call. And from that, they can generate transcripts, which you can mine, and you can take all that language and put it into a linguist analysis program and figure out what kind of things are coming to the fore in a mass. You've got a massive data set. You can't go through every call recording, right? So you mine it for the language of what people are saying and get some insights out of that.
Do you get the contact information for the caller?
That's a good question. I think you probably do. But I haven't, the campaign isn't started yet, so I haven't seen
that's a good question to ask, because in other things that I've seen that are similar, you don't. And you certainly don't in Yelp, and you certainly don't in Google My Business, which, well, we could have a whole conversation about that next time. But LinkedIn has some new creator tools that they gave us. There's a subscribe bell. There's a way to feature your newsletter, and so you have to to turn them on. You go to creator analytics. You have to make sure your creator mode is turned on, and then you turn to the creator mode. You navigate to the analytics section of your profile, and you click total impressions, and you will see the results of the analytics. So that's kind of cool.
Good. LinkedIn is far behind on providing really meaningful analytics.
Exactly. So also this week, Twitter introduced some new ad formats that they're working on. I don't know that they're live yet, but this is from the Twitter business blog. And they said you'll see experiments with ad formats that help us explore how to work towards these goals and how to bring this ad vision to life on Twitter. Now, starting this week, they're doing pilot tests for 3 new formats. One is interactive text. One is a product explorer where you can see it in 3D, and you can then click through to the brand website and buy the product. And then there are collection ads where you can show like a whole bunch of products. Those are interesting for advertising. I think Twitter advertising is getting much more robust, and it's going to be a good thing.
So what is interactive text? Is that a hyperlink?
No. You, I don't know. It hasn't rolled out yet. So that brings us to pro tips. Yes.
Yes, it does. I got a couple. One is, so I took a really long course past 2 weeks. I've been plowing through basically 17, 18, 20 hours of an online course. And it was great and everything. Learned a lot, but the guy who created the course used the same damn music clip for every video.
Don't you want to kill people?
Oh my God, it was so annoying. So
I don't like music in the video, period.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm with you on that one. Boy, oh boy. So, you can schedule your tweets on Twitter. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't, but when you can, where do they go? If you want to change something or if you just want to see them. So this is what you do. You click on tweet, you keep your finger on it, and lo and behold, it brings up your drafts and your scheduled tweets. Because sometimes they'll say, do you want to save this as a draft? Yeah, okay, where are they? So that's how you do it. So you start typing a tweet if you want to save a draft. If you want to save it as a draft, you start typing and then you tap cancel in the upper left-hand corner and you get this pop-up that says save draft instead of deleting it. And then when you want to see it, you hold the tweet button and there they are. You can change the time that you schedule things. You can edit the content. And I think that's actually really pretty cool.
Well, it's not really pretty cool because it took me the longest time to figure out where to find them.
Yeah,
it's
me
not,
too.
It is not obvious. Come on.
Now, totally not obvious. That's why I'm telling you.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, because I had to, like, I've been scratching my head going, where are they? And then every once in a while they would pop up. I'm like, where did they come from? So now you know. But there's something also interesting that YouTube is doing. They're adding filtering options to channel's video tab. So you'll be able to filter by video type, short, live stream, or other. And they're removing the option to sort by oldest first. I don't know why, but if you want to find a channel's oldest video, you have to scroll through the whole list.
That's obnoxious. So that doesn't help researchers at all. Thank you very much, YouTube.
Not at all. No, but that's all I got.
I was watching the coverage of Russia's terrorism of Ukraine, of course, and watching MSNBC. They had Clint Watts on in front of a map about the invasion and where the different where Ukraine and Russian troops were stationed and who had what territory, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm looking at the map, and there's these powder blue areas of the map. And they were illustrating Ukrainian counteroffensives in powder blue. And I'm like, I'm a Minnesotan. I come from the land of 10,000 lakes. Powder blue on a map means a lake. What are you doing? It does. What are you doing illustrating troop movements using powder blue? I mean, that was just, I'm not a cartographer, I'm guessing, probably don't do that.
Well, I've been watching and listening a lot, and my heart's in pieces over this. It really is. But you got some stats for us, right?
I do. This is from Edison Research, one of my favorite research outlets for their Infinite Dial 2022. They've been measuring audio consumption behavior and patterns for many, many years. So they've got recent data out. I'll just cite one piece of this new report. Number of podcast episodes listened to in the last week. So this is from their 2022 report, and total 1 to 5, 67% of podcast listeners listen to 1 to 5 podcasts a week. 6 to 10, 16% listen to 6 to 10, 17% listen to 11 or more. And that breaks it down by age group. So 12 to 34-year-olds. I don't know why they choose these age groups.
Yeah, really.
12 to 34 year olds, 67% of them listen to 1 to 5, 18% listen to 6 to 10, and 15% 11 or more. And I'm just jumped down to 55 plus. 77% of 55 plus listeners listen to 1 to 5, 18% listen to 6 to 10, and only 5% listen to 11 or more. There's a lot more data in here, so we'll link to the report in the show notes.
Dave, do they ask them what podcasts they listen to? Because, when people answer surveys and they want to sound smart, a lot of times they say things that aren't actually valid.
Yeah, I didn't see the, I skimmed through it. I didn't see that question being asked, but they've got breakdowns of ethnicity and a bunch of other stuff that's really fascinating. So it's always good. It's always good research that they do. So
their reports at Edison are always great, but I wonder about that. That's like when they ask you like what your income is. Why wouldn't you say it's $1 million? Like what business is it of theirs? What my income is. But anyway, that brings us to the end of episode 375 of the Beyond Social Media Show. You want to find us, you search Beyond Social Media Show, and there will be links to everything we spoke about today, including the video of Pink Floyd, and links to everything else we discussed at beyondsocialmediashow.com/375. And we'd love for you to subscribe to the newsletter while you're there. So I am here with David Erickson, and he's on Twitter as D Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson. He's on YouTube as E Strategy, and he blogs at e-strategyblog.com. I'm BL Achman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at what'snextblog.com, YouTube What's Next Blog. My website's blachman.com. And the show again, our blog is beyondsocialmediashow.com. On Twitter, where we hope you'll follow us, we're at BS Media Show. And you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can tell your smart speaker to play Beyond Social Media Show, and we'll be there. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. And we thank you for listening and watching.
Thanks for watching.